Now we will discuss the types of forces. There are two types of the forces, balanced force and unbalanced force. Balanced forces are those forces in which net force on the body is zero. Let us say there is an object of any mass m and you are applying some force here, that is F1, some force here, that is F2, some force here, that is F3, some force here, that is F4. If you add all the forces, F1 plus F2 plus F3 plus F4 and value is 0, then it is known as the balanced force. Unbalanced forces are those forces in which net sum is not 0, means same objects, same forces are acting, but you add F1 plus F2 plus F3 plus F4, and if this value is not equal to 0, it is known as the unbalanced force. Like here you can see, this is the arm wrestling, and if both the objects are applying the same force, then you can say net force is 0 and no one will win the match. All of you know that if an object is dropped from a certain height, after each and every second its speed increases. That you know very well. If I say gravity is given by 10 meter per second square, then if the object is dropped with the 0 meter per second, then after 1 second speed will become 10 meter per second. After another 1 second it will be 20 meter per second. After another 1 second it will be 30 meter per second, and so on. Now you just fail it. Raindrop is coming from a very long distance. It means when it is strike on the person's head, its velocity should be very high. But all of you know, when you enjoy the rain, either on the ground level or at a certain height, the speed of the raindrop is same. So what is happening? Basically, at a certain height, the downward force, that is the gravitational force, is balanced by the vertical upward force, that is a viscous force, that you will discuss in detail. When these two forces are balanced, net force is 0. When the force on the object becomes 0, there is no increase in the velocity, so velocity becomes same, either rain is at a certain height or at the ground level. Another example of the balanced force is when you put the book on the table. If we say this book is placed on the table and only one force is acting, that is the force of gravitation, we can say that is the weight or the force of the gravitation, that is mg, then definitely this book should go downward. But this book is placed on the table, it means table is also applying the force on the book, and the force which is applied by the table on the book, that is known as the normal force, and when these two forces are the balance, book will remain on the table. Similarly, if this block is suspended with the thread, if we consider on this block that the weight is acting in the downward, that is W equal to mg, this block should go in the downward direction. But this block is remain at the rest, it means one more force is acting, that is the force acting on the block by the thread, and that is known as the tension force. So tension force equal to the weight, so this block remain at rest. Similarly, if the object is floating, then we can say weight of the block is balanced by the upthrust of the water. Like I say, when we immerse the object in the water, situation is like this, then this object displaces some amount of the water which is beneath it. This water has the tendency to come back to the original position, so it applies the force in the upward direction. That force is known as the buoyant force or force of buoyancy. When this force of buoyancy is equal to the weight of the body remains in the floating condition. So net force is 0, so body cannot move up and down. It is known as the balance force. Similarly, if your car is traveling with a constant velocity, let I say velocity is given to 20 meter per second, it means net force on the body will be 0, because when the force will act, velocity will change. So the force applied by you, that is the force given on the accelerator, and force provided by the rough surface, that is the friction force, both are equal and opposite. So net force is 0 and your car is moving with the constant velocity. Now balance force can change the shape of the body. If you take a ball, you apply the force from one side, this is the 10 Newton, another side this is also 10 Newton. So net force is 0, but we can say the shape of the body is changing. So we can say balance force can change the shape of the body. Now we will discuss regarding unbalanced forces. If the resultant of all the force acting on the body is not zero, the forces are called unbalanced force. As I have discussed with all of you from the beginning, that if F1 plus F2 plus F3 plus F4 is not equal to 0, then it is the unbalanced force. So, unbalanced force can move a stationary body if a body is at rest. A stationary body means body is at rest. If you apply the unbalanced force means there must be some net force. Let I say here the 5 Newton is acting, here the 4 Newton is acting. So net force is given by the 1 Newton in this direction. So when the net unbalanced force is acting, if the body is at rest, it can move into the motion. Or they can stop a moving body. Similarly, if this body is in motion, let I say motion with a constant velocity 10 meter per second. It will be possible when this side force, that is 5 Newton, and this side force, that is 5 Newton, is balanced. Then velocity is constant. But somehow, if I apply one more force, that is 1 Newton, then we can definitely say velocity will change from 10 Newton to 20 Newton or so on. So, they can change the velocity. Similarly, if this object is moving in this direction with 10 meter per second, let us draw it. This is the object, and this object is moving with 10 meter per second, moving with constant velocity. It means here the force, that is 5 Newton, and here the force 5 Newton is balanced. Okay, but if you want to stop it, you have to apply some force for this side, then this body will stop. So it can be the unbalanced force, so unbalanced force can stop a moving body also.